Hey yo, welcome to the channel. Today I'm about to react to, Mad Pat Film Theory. Spider-Man got a big surprise, they're coming, he said, talking about the X-Men are coming, they're gonna come or whatever because we even saw in the trailers like they're coming and I can't stop them, which I believe it might be when the villains are entering or when the Spider-Man are entering. But the fact that he brought up the X-Men, hey, Phoenix, the Dark Phoenix might show up. Storm might show up. I'm sorry if I don't really saying it right because I didn't really watch that X-Men movie, but it is what it is, and yeah, let's just. I mean, I'm still on the hype train. I'm still happy for the Spider-Man ish. So let's see the theories he got cooking up. So I'm kind of intrigued about this X-Men shit.
And so you see, logically, Pizza Planet is the only franchise that could have been using the legacy recipe from Freddy Fazbear's, which is how you get
Madpat, Mr. Madpat,
Pizza Planet and Freddy. I don't know.
Yes.
do you have a theory?
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, it's totally happening. They're finally acknowledging my existence. Do I have a theory? Yes,
bro.
yes, sir, I do.
About the future of the MCU?
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. And not just about the future, but also the old.
Great. I've got Kevin Feige.
And I've got a cease and desist.
Ooh.
Oh.
Ooh. Ooh. Okay, imagine though, bro. Imagine, yo.
Hello, Internet!
Welcome to Film Theory.
The show that can predict the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe 90% of the time.
Oh,
For real?
19%.
Hey, no need to show me up like that, Morris. Then again, how can I stay mad at something with such a cute, fuzzy legs? So, Shang-Chi is finally out on Disney Plus, meaning that
Okay.
those who weren't comfortable going to see it in the theaters are finally getting to experience the best Marvel Phase 4 movie yet. To be fair, the competition so far hasn't been particularly hard. Between the incredible choreography, the brilliant character performances, the decided lack of a sky beam, yeah, this one felt really refreshing. Especially when the whole climax just amounts to one big kaiju battle. Even those giant monsters at the end, though, that one felt weird for you too, right? Like you have this incredible movie featuring top-tier martial arts,
Exactly.
and then giant CGI tentacle monster. All right, sure. The Dweller in Dark.
I mean, like, to be fair, bro, they did say Shang-Chi. Okay, I can't really say they did. Well, so I saw this from RDC. I'm not sure if it's true. They say he's the best hand-to-hand combat fighter in the MCU. So it's like, come on, bro. They had to make sure that everything was on point.
As this big third act villain just felt weird to me, both when I first saw it in theaters and again when I watched it at home. Like, why him? It felt so random, so disconnected from everything the movie had set up tonally up to that point. But then Disney Plus Day happened, and with it all these announcements about upcoming projects, and suddenly something clicked into place for me. You see, I believe Shang-Chi's inclusion of the Dweller in Darkness has set the dominoes up for the biggest reveal that the MCU has left. One that they've been keeping in their back pocket since 2019. Shang-Chi and the giant kaiju battle, it just opened the door, both figuratively and literally, for the X-Men. Strap in, friends, this is gonna be a wild ride. To give the briefest of recaps so you can follow the important details for today's theory, Shang-Chi follows a character named Chong-Chi, if that wasn't obvious. But the story is really all about his father, Wen-Wu, the Mandarin.
You'll never see
Hey, no, we don't talk about this one. We don't talk about this one.
me coming.
Not that one,
Yeah.
the real Mandarin. You see, Wen-Wu, for being a cold, heartless international crime lord, is really broken up about his dead wife. So when he hears her suddenly calling out to him from behind a mysterious door, he becomes obsessed with opening that door back up. After decades of searching, he finds the door in the realm Ta Lo. And the people there are totally like, no, you idiot, that's not your wife. That's a big, bad, dark thing that we sealed behind the door years ago. Which, can I just say...
not gonna lie, I haven't watched Shang-Chi. I was planning on it, but then, I'm trying to be a YouTuber, so couldn't really find the time. So, but I'ma still watch it, though, eventually. Hopefully, tonight, but...
Hey, why? Like, why do people seal entities behind doors and not, a wall? You're not meant to open a wall. Walls do not come with hinges that allow them to open back.
Hey, but we might need them for the final battle. You never know,
I'm just saying, you had one job, Talo, one job, and you blew it. Anyway, Shang-Chi, the movie, decides to be very efficient in its third act by combining all of its tropes into one major battle. Not only do Shang-Chi and Wen-Wu have a good old-fashioned MCU fight your opposite color scheme nemesis battle, but it's also a punch through your daddy issues battle. 2 for the price of 1. Really appreciate how they've streamlined the process. Anyway, the battle is promptly interrupted by something bursting through the door, and funnily enough, it's not Wenwu's wife. This giant monster is called the Dweller in Darkness. Wenwu sacrifices himself for his son, and Shang-Chi manages to use the rings to destroy the Dweller, despite it being the first time
I'm
that
gonna
he's
lie, I thought there was gonna be like Fin Fang Foom in there, you know?
ever tried him on, and the fact that Talo's best warriors were unable to do the same task millennia ago. Just saying, watch out, Captain Marvel. Looks like we got a totally new overpowered hero auditioning for the Avengers,
Okay.
and that's basically the movie. This is obviously a massive oversimplification of what actually goes down, but it's basically what we need to know to contextualize the Dweller in Darkness. This giant Cthulhu-like tentacle monster thing that eats souls in order to become more powerful. As I mentioned before, it felt like a weird inclusion to me for a movie all about hand-to-hand combat. The
Yeah.
Dweller feels like a bad fit for a kung fu movie. It feels like something more in line with like a cosmic mystic arts movie. And if you thought the same thing, then congratulations, you're
Was that monster in the What If of Doctor Strange? The one that he ate? Was it there? Because yo, bro, Supreme Strange is a whole different breed. Ultron is no, not this is a different conversation for another time.
right. Because the Dweller in Darkness is in the comics, but not as a Shang-Chi character. Instead, he's one of the oldest and most fearsome foes to none other than Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I was about to say, he was in the What If, right?
Keeps showing up in weird places these days, doesn't he? It also explains why they shoehorned Wong in there. You see, in the comics, the Dweller in Darkness is a demonic being who claims to have been born of the essence of all fears. He tends to lead a sewing circle of other scary monsters called the Fear Lords. They're kind of like edgelords, but scarier.
I mean, that the name, the Fear Lords, I don't know, bro, it's just...
He looks like this. Literally an octopus on a body. Clearly, his appearance in Legend of the Ten Rings has changed a lot. Now looking a lot more like a dragon,
Man, he got catfished.
dinosaur thing. But he and his minions do still have those telltale Lovecraftian Old One tentacles. Something that we've also been seeing a lot in these Marvel Phase 4 projects. What If, for instance, has not just one random appearance of tentacles, but 2. In both episode 1 with Captain Carter and episode 4 with Doctor Strange. So we have Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I thought that was like technically, I thought that was like the same thing, you know?
Himself, his enemies, and lots of tentacles coming out of portals all over the MCU right now. In Shang-Chi, in What If, in the upcoming Spider-Man movie, in his own multiverse movie down the line. But what does it all mean? And why do I think it all connects back to the X-Men?
Yeah,
Well,
why?
That's where this scene and Disney Plus Day come in. If you don't know what Disney Plus Day was, it was basically a day where Disney released a bunch of stuff onto their streaming service and then made announcements about upcoming projects. And of the announcements, there was a lot of what you'd expect. More MCU, more Star Wars, more Pixar, even some surprises like Hocus Pocus 2, which, gotta say, personal favorite of mine. Just lots and lots of stuff coming down the pipeline for Disney. But you know what was oddly quiet? Fox properties, specifically the X-Men. For those of you who don't remember or weren't aware of it, Disney bought Fox 2.5 years ago, and with it came the rights to another Marvel property, the X-Men. But nothing has come of it. No announcements, no hints about
Yeah, we've only heard of like the Fantastic Four, and that's the Fantastic Four. They better do them right.
projects. And sure, it takes time to
They better
make
do 'em
stuff,
right.
but you know, these things run on hype. Stuff gets announced years before it ever becomes a reality. The MCU has a timeline that's like 5 years out at this point. Or in the world of video games, you got Elder Scrolls 6, which was announced 3 years ago, with nothing to show for it but a stock fantasy image pulled the night before by an intern. You'd think that Disney would mention something that they're planning to do with this massive IP that they paid $71 billion for. Oh,
You know, like, I kind of respect this, I kind of like this, but it's just not gonna be the same. It's like, with Blade, they're gonna finally introduce Blade, which is like, fucking A, but at the same time, it's not the Blade we grew to love, man. It's not, you know, it's not, bro. It's not, bro. It ain't him, though, you know? And also with Wolverine, yeah, sure, finally Wolverine about to be here, but shit, it's not Hugh Jackman. And we ain't got no Wesley Snipes as Blade and not Hugh Jack. You see what I'm saying? It's like they got big shoes to fill. Is all I'm saying, bro.
Hold on. At Disney Plus Day, they did announce one thing, and it's kind of random. A reboot of the 1990s Fox animated classic, The X-Men, now dubbed X-Men 97, which, hey, if nothing else, gives me an excuse to fire up this old intro from 5 years ago that we spent way too long on and only used once.
The F.
Oh, that theme song. It's so good. Anyway, people went nuts over this thing, and I gotta admit, I was excited too. I loved watching this show growing up, but something felt suspicious to me about this announcement. Like, this is the one and only thing that's first out of the gate for X-Men under Disney control? I mean, sure, it's a classic, but is it really big enough to be given this sort of treatment? Why not just reboot the live-action X-Men and get them into the MCU? I mean, that's what everybody really wants. That's where the big money is, not on streaming. We all know
Yeah,
it.
I even heard that they said they're gonna reboot like Deadpool or something. I was like, bro, Wade Wilson, Ryan Reynolds. Oh my gosh, bro. It's like he better, if they do, he better make a joke about this. You know?
Guarantee you, Disney knows it too. That's why I suspect X-Men 97 is gonna be the X-Men's introduction into the MCU. Just not in the way that people might expect. See, in the 90s, the X-Men animated series was hugely popular, and it introduced a whole new audience to these characters.
Okay.
The issue was that the comics available at the time didn't look anything like the cartoon, and a lot of the characters that seemed important in the animated series, like Jubilee and Gambit, just weren't, like, at all. So Marvel wanted there to be something in the X-Men section of comic book stores that actually resembled the version of the X-Men that these TV show fans were more familiar with. As such, they published a separate series disconnected from the rest of the Marvel Universe continuity that adapted the storylines from the show under the title X-Men Adventures. When the cartoon was due to end, they then rebranded this comic as Adventures of the X-Men, which told new stories still set in the original continuity of the cartoon, tying off most of its ongoing plot threads. The key for us today, though, is how the series ended. They didn't settle for the world was saved.
It's like me with that series. I remember seeing glimpses, seeing here and here. Like I feel like in total I've only seen like a good 5 episodes, but I was still a kid back then. So unfortunately, yeah.
They all lived happily ever after. In this one, oh no, friends, they went insane and actually ended the entire universe. You heard that right. Not sure how to end a series? Just end the universe. No more characters
Wow.
means no more stories to tell. This story arc was driven largely by a
Why
character
was
named
Zeno
Despair,
there?
who turns out was working on behalf of another character.
Man, they really got the Omni King there.
One that started this whole theory,
Darkness.
the Dweller in Darkness.
Yeah.
Yep, the Dweller wanted to end the universe because doing so would cause everyone to feel immense fear. Fear that he could then absorb and basically become a god. The crazy twist with this story, though, is that the X-Men...
I like that. I like that. First you at the Omni King and then you get that god nigga. Okay.
really managed to stop him. Well, it's kind of like a tie. They can't stop the destruction of the universe, but they did learn enough about understanding brotherhood and friendship over the course of the series that Jean Grey's Phoenix powers are able to send those positive vibes to every mind in existence, so no one is afraid of their inevitable death. They're all connected, so even though they're on the brink of Armageddon, they die nobly, without fear, meaning that the Dweller doesn't get the opportunity to level up. And then the known universe collapses in on itself and everyone dies.
Fair,
The end.
but
What on earth does this have to do with the MCU?
Okay.
Well, out of the end of their universe comes a big bang which creates a whole new universe. The real comic universe. Universe
Ooh.
616. On the last panel, we see the classic 1960s versions of the X-Men, essentially rebooting the animated X-Men, but in a way that then connected them back into the main continuity of the franchise. This is actually what I predict is going to happen at the end of X-Men 97. Remember, this part of the story was never put to screen. It was a totally new story just for the comics, which makes it a pretty darn great choice for all of those who wanted the TV show to get its true finale. But it also means that Marvel can have their cake and eat it too. They can revive these classic characters, keeping them as cartoons, but also throw them into the MCU by having them be a prequel to the Marvel universe that we know today. In Shang-Chi, we hear that before the Dweller was locked away by Ta Lo, he had destroyed many universes. Maybe one such universe was the X-Men 97.
yes, yo. In fact, I'm not even gonna pause, but yeah.
That may seem like a stretch, but if you cast your mind back to the Spider-Man No Way Home teaser,
They could easily do that. Yeah.
notice that Doctor Strange is holding a conspicuous mug emblazoned with a cartoon fox. It could just be a random
Okay.
mug that they had on set, or it's another Easter egg. Fox formerly owned the rights to
See a fox and say fox. Okay.
properties like the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and Deadpool, hence why they've never appeared in the
I mean, fair. Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that.
MCU. But now that Disney owns Fox,
But Deadpool is really successful right now. Why would they reboot it? That's the issue I don't get. I'm not trying to say that word. I'm still detoxicizing myself. Kind of ironic, but if that, nigga, fuck that shit.
People have been hoping that any multiversal storyline would allow characters
Gorg.
like the X-Men to suddenly enter into the continuity. It's why everyone got so excited when X-Men's Quicksilver turned up in WandaVision, and then did a collective eye roll when it turned out to be a fake. I think this
Bro, I was so upset, nigga. I was so upset when I seen that. I was like, oh shit, it's about to happen. We're about to have a whole ish. We might have a whole X-Men and Disney baby. But no, F that. We got this some on, nigga, bro. Fuck that.
is a nod to the connection between Doctor Strange and Fox's X-Men 97, which so far is the only Fox Marvel property to be announced. Plus, we know that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness has a big co-starring part for Scarlet Witch, a character with a major quasi-canonical connection to the X-Men universe. And this is the part where I remind you that in Shang-Chi, the MCU's Dweller in Darkness tricked Wenwu into releasing it by calling out to him using the voice of his dead wife, all while Wenwu was in an emotionally vulnerable state, researching dark magic and using the 10 rings. Remind me again what Scarlet Witch was doing the last time that we saw her?
Yeah, in the end. Yeah, I was about to say with the whole all of that ish. Yeah, yo, this was like, yeah. Yeah.
She too was in an emotionally vulnerable state researching dark magic when she's startled by the voices of none other than her dead children. So X-Men 97 may just be a canonical prequel to the MCU, but if the Dweller in Darkness has been defeated in the MCU timeline, then surely our connection is gone then, right? Well, not quite, because there is another massive villain that comes out of that X-Men storyline. See, there's one other person racing to survive the death of the universe, a scientist astronaut named Galen from an advanced planet called Ta. Like the X-Men, he too was undertaking a desperate mission to
Is that like a bootleg version of Galactus?
try and prevent the universe's collapse. Instead, he becomes the sole survivor for his entire galaxy, and he merges with the sentience of the universe in order to transform into a godlike being that's always hungry for planets.
Galactus. I'm sorry, I was like, Galen? Come on, that's Galactus, okay.
Instead, he becomes the sole
Yeah, I even
survivor
remember
for his
this. I remember him saying that Galactus, like, he survived, like, he barely survived the whole ish. I forgot when I seen that, but yeah.
entire galaxy, and he merges with the sentience of the universe in order to transform into a godlike being that's always hungry for planets. In short, this one
Silver Surfer, and then he's gonna introduce the Fantastic Four. Or was he originally from X-Men? I don't know.
Story gives us the birth of Galactus, one of the most important and powerful comic book forces of all time.
Ooh, and yes, Thanos did try to halfen the numbers to slow the population down to save the universe. Because that nigga is hunting for planets like that, right? That's how it is. Or am I getting my information crossed or mixed up with somewhere else? If not, if I'm wrong, please correct me. Cause that's one theory that I heard. Cause like, you know, he looking for planets with all of that energy, all of them people, all of that population, just feasting and feasting. But I don't know.
I'm a giant space dude with a cool hat who eats planets not because he's evil, but because he's just really hungry. He is an embodiment of a literal force of nature, basically the final boss of Marvel properties. Now, a few years ago, this guy showing up wouldn't have fit into the more realistic sensibilities of the MCU, but now that the MCU has introduced giant cosmic entities like the Celestials, a big boy like Galactus could possibly fit right in. Scratch that, it's more than a possibility. I believe it actually is what's gonna happen. And this newfound confidence all comes back to Shang-Chi. The most important part of this movie actually comes down to the mid-credit scene, because of course it does. It's a Marvel movie.
Okay, I don't even care anymore. Oh shit, he was in the credit scene. I wanna see that last credit scene.
Explains that when Shang-Chi used the 10
What?
rings
Captain Marvel was there too? Oh fuck, whatever. I'm being spoiled for this. I deserve this.
for the very first time, he and the other mystics felt it in Kamartaj, where previously they had had no record of anything like them ever existing, despite the fact that Wenwu had been using these things for 1,000 years, apparently extending his life, conquering kingdoms, and killing tons of people with his magic floaty blue rings wasn't enough magic stuff for the Society of Wizards tasked with noticing magic usage to, notice magic. You had one job, Wong. You sit over there with Ta Lo twice in the same episode. I'm not
What?
mad, just disappointed. Wong goes on to explain that using the rings was like setting off a beacon, calling out to something or someone out in the cosmos.
What is it?
A beacon.
We're sending a message.
Now, in a previous theory, I proposed that the 10 rings could match up with the 10 Eternals that we're aware of before the movie's release. And sure enough, Eternals does feature a climactic battle scene where the Eternal engineer Phastos invents a way for the team to captain
Oh, shit,
planet
this
their
nigga there.
energies together into a singular force called the Unimind, using flashing important stuff arrow here, special bracelets that each individual Eternal wears. So, these then are the 10 rings that Wen Wu found, right? No, because by that point in the movie, 2 of the 10 Eternals had been killed off. That would leave, and minus 2 is, less than 10. Also, that scene happens in the present time, so, those 10 rings, that ain't it, Chief. So it's not the Eternals, it's not the Dweller in Darkness. Who is it? You've probably figured out where I'm going with this one. It's Galactus. Think about it. We know that Marvel likes to combine or mix up their stories a little bit. So where the Dweller in Darkness is more traditionally a Doctor Strange villain, he's now been defeated to be replaced by the other big bad from his X-Men continuity. It's also worth mentioning that Galactus has been seen clashing with another set of characters from the Fox Marvel pantheon, the Fantastic
Yeah, the
Four.
Fantastic
What better
Four,
way
of
to
course.
reboot all of them and bring them into the MCU than with one of their biggest villains? And don't forget, we've already met one of our new Phase 4 villains, Kang the Conqueror, over in Loki. And his main bad guy thing is getting yourself a space monster that's always hungry and feeding it.
I weaponized Goliath.
Sounds familiar. Kind of like a certain universe-sized villain with a cool hat and an appetite for planets. So there you have it, friends. I'm suggesting that the Fox universe has to die so the MCU can be born. Both canonically, but I suppose also from a meta standpoint. You're gonna have our cartoon X-Men, and it still actually means something to the MCU. The universe collapses, bookending the Fox era of Marvel history while still having it fit in nice and neat with their MCU, but in doing so, they're able to create a monster worse than the Dweller in Darkness. One that the 10 rings are calling out to like a lunch bell, drawing Galactus to Earth for our heroes to fight against at the end of Phase 4, or probably actually later in Phase 5, alongside some new heroes like the rebooted X-Men that we'll see at the end of the Adventures comics. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory.
All about. I wanna see that meme. I wanna see
New
that
heroes
meme.
like the rebooted X-Men that we'll see at the end of the Adventures comics. But hey, that's just a theory.
Disney announces X-Men 97. It's a direct continuation of a 90s cartoon. All living voice characters are returning. Okay, whatever. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Theory. A film theory. And cut.
I don't want to see no Kevin Feige like that, my guy. Everybody want to see that. Okay, that's it. Hey, yo, bro. Yo. I have legit learned a lot. Thank you, my pep, for that educational moment and, all of that. But golly. I mean, of course, I gotta watch that movie so I could, truly get it. But it's like, I felt like the Eternals, it's like, I didn't need to watch it, but it was just, The Shang-Chi, I really wanted to watch it. Shit, I even reacted to the whole trailer, but like I said, man, life of a YouTuber that's trying to make it. It ain't that easy. You just trying to fight even as much space or much time as you got. Yeah, but you be like, yo, bro, I'm not even gonna have this conversation right now. But like, wow, bro, this is kind of smart. The only thing I'm mad at is the reboots. I'm not mad at the reboots. It's just I'm mad that the actors, or the movies didn't shine or didn't get as much shine, But now they gotta reboot them. But like Wade Wilson, Ryan Reynolds, he's still kind of young. Who am I kidding, bro? Wesley got first. Hugh Jackman, he was next. Ryan Reynolds, bro. Then they try to do Toby, but Toby coming back, popular demand. But golly, overall, the X-Men, they're coming. I hope I'm still alive at that point. Fantastic Four. I mean, you know what they say, bro? If you want to play the Human Torch and you fail, you become someone bitter. Like Chris Evans and, like Michael B. Jordan. They got a bigger role. But yeah, but I just hope what he's saying is correct, because he do have a 90% chance, there's 9% rate of getting these theories correct. So I'm hoping what you're saying is truly like right. So With that said, I'm gonna see y'all later. God damn.